Hello, my name is Hee-won and I'll be explaining my code here today. The objective of the assignment was to create a class with two methods, one method that returns the maximum value recursively and another method that returns the minimum value iteratively. I used PyCharm IDE to code. First, I've imported the pandas library as PT, which I will be using to read the CSV file. In line 4, I've created a class called MinMax. In this class, I have a constructor. I created a constructor called init function. This constructor takes in one argument, which is the list of numbers, and initializes this to the attribute, that is the self.num list. Then in line 12, I've created the upper bound function that will return the maximum value recursively. I have first created the base case here, which will basically stop the recursion. This is necessary in all recursion methods. This is necessary to stop the recursion. If we don't have this, it'll go forever. I've created the base case. Here I'm saying that if the length of the list is the length of the list is equal to 1, then return the first element in the list. Else, for lists with more than one number, the method compares the list size minus 1 with the result of recursively calling upper bound method on the rest of the list. Then with the max function, I use the max function to determine the maximum number between the first number and then the upper bound of the remaining list. Then here in line 24, I have created the lower bound function, lower bound method. This method returns the minimum value of the list. In line 26, I have created a variable called min. This variable will be is a placeholder for the minimum value. I have assigned the first element in the list to the minimum value, which will eventually be updated as we iterate through the list and find the smallest value. Here I'm saying for each element in the list, if the min is greater than the element, then that means the element value is smaller than the value of the minimum variable. So then we update the min variable with the element. We do this until we have reached the end of the list. Then we return the minimum min variable, which has the minimum value. Lastly, here I have created the main function to execute all the processes. For example, in the main method, I use the pandas library to read the CSV file. Then I convert the data frame that I got from this function read CSV function then I convert the data frame to the list. Then we create an object. Then I created an object of the MinMax class to use its functions. When we create an object, then we create an object that passes in, then using this object, I call the upper bound function. And this upper bound function takes in one argument, one parameter, that is the size of the array, the list of numbers. Then this function will recursively return the maximum value and assign the maximum value to the max value variable. Then we do the same thing. We use the object to call the lower bound function that returns the minimum value, then assigns this variable into the min value variable. Then here I use the print functions to print all the values that are returned. And lastly, this is basically called to main. I call the main function to execute all the processes here. I will just run my code just to show that my code is successfully returning the values.